hearing from you for your new appointment. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you born, and when you move into Leicester.
Yeah, I was born in Punjab, in India, in a very, very rural setting. And the times were unaffected by technology and infrastructure at the time, so this was early 70s. Spent 6 years there, and I have fond memories. And then we moved to Leicester with my family, and I really enjoyed that period of my life, going to school here, transitioning from speaking Punjabi only to becoming bilingual, speaking English fluently. And I've got extremely fond memories of growing up in the inner city terraced house streets. No, I only ever had two homes. One was in Punjab, in the village Singh by Cllr, which is in the district Johal, and then my second home is here in Leicester. These are the only two places I've ever lived, and I love them both equally. I moved to Leicester when I was 6 years old, and it was a difficult transition because I had to go to school with kids that spoke only English. You know, the Punjabi community or the Indian community was an absolute minority then. So I was one of few people in school that spoke Punjabi, so I had to transition very quickly. First few months were very, very difficult, and I felt lonely and I felt a little bit isolated. But as you know, the months went by, and by about the summer of the year that we came in, after about 5-6 months, I'd picked up a good level of English. At that point, I really started enjoying life, and I remember that. I remember my English getting better. I got more and more involved in the classrooms. I started to play football, and I started to become very good at football. And all of a sudden, you know, the dynamics changed. People wanted to be, or the kids wanted to associate themselves with me, and it was a good feeling. And you know, I felt that this was going to be my home, and I felt very, very comfortable and secure in my new home from a relatively young age. What I wanted to do was go into manufacturing, into textile manufacturing. That's what I wanted to do, because that's what I saw around me when I was growing up. We were a textile city, and I wanted to be something in that line. I wanted to gain the right qualifications, the right academic background before I went into work for the big companies here. And we had some fantastic companies, Richard Roberts, T.W. Kempton's, Cllr's. All of these, you know, appealed to me. I wanted to work in those places before I opened my own business.
What inspired you to move into the public service?
I think the public service is part of what we do as a community. So if we talk about the Punjabi community or the Sikh faith, they're both all about selfless service, which we call Cllr. And we're born with it. It's in our DNA from a very early age. We're doing it. I mean, I was just saying about me not speaking English when I came to the UK. Well, it's very, very ironic that at the age of about 9-10 years old, once I'd learned to speak English, that I was actually interpreting for other families and people at offices, for example, like the job centre and stuff. And that sort of, it's so ironic that from a very early age, I was doing something that I couldn't do for myself, for others, but I was doing it as just Cllr. I was going with people to help. My family told me to go and do it because of the nature of the community that we live in. That transitioned into helping or doing Cllr, just like everybody else does at the local Gurdwara, which was Guru Nanak Gurdwara, which was on New Walk at the time. And then over a period of time, the better you are at helping people, the more people ask for help. And before you know it, you know, all of a sudden you're sort of entangled in a community that's always reaching out to you. I became General Secretary of the Guru Nanak Gurdwara. I was fortunate enough to be the General Secretary when Her Majesty the late Queen came to Leicester in 2002. I remember that very, very fondly. I was involved with football from a very early age, like I said, and then at the age of about 18, I started to play for G&G Football Club. And then later on, at the age of about 29, I stepped onto the management there, onto the committee. We transitioned from being a sort of a one-team club to now where we've got about 60 teams of football players, mainly children, and we have 13 girls football teams. So that's basically my seva to society, and we don't do it for reward. We do it because that's part of being a Sikh, I suppose, which is I've grown up in a very, very diverse city. My early years, I saw the difficulties that I had as a person or as a family that came from another part of the world. So I can relate to people that are not necessarily born here. They have arrived here with their families, or they have arrived here on their own. I can see the difficulties. But I can also see from the host community, because apart from the 6 years that I lived in India, most of my life has been spent in the UK. Most of my friends, you know, they still live locally to me in LE3. We went to the same schools together. And many of them are the existing communities that have lived here for hundreds and hundreds of years. So how do I see that I can help the city of Leicester? I think the first thing is that I probably understand the city better than a lot of people, than maybe a lot of other potentials for being Lord Mayor. Not that it goes against them, but having lived here and breathed here and seen the difficulties, I just think I'm far, far better positioned to be able to help those communities. And I'm also here with an approachable attitude. So the office of the Lord Mayor, the title itself seems to be very, very sort of dazzling. You think, you know, Lord Mayor, not for the common person. However, the Lord Mayor role is the common person. In me, what you've got is a grassroots person that went from terraced house accommodation, living in a terraced house in the inner city, to living now still within a stone's throw away from the city centre, which is Narborough Road. And, you know, I'm as hard-working as any local lad, hard-working as anybody that's grassroots, but also I you know, being in the public service, you get to meet a lot of people that necessarily don't know this side, but they have another side to society that we can sort of touch up on or bring into our own lives, into our own skills. So there's another skill set that we've learnt dealing with other people from other parts of the society and other parts of the community.
You're the fifth one, Lord Mayor of Leicester from Punjabi heritage. What mean to you this?
I think it's a tribute just to be the Lord Mayor. I mean, being chosen by my peers, which is the fellow councillors, and being chosen unopposed, I think that's in itself says a lot. When I was growing up here, we had, for a minute, I'll say the English community. And we used to have the Punjabi community, and we used to have the West Indian community, and we used to have the Gujarati community. So you could almost count the number of communities that resided in Leicester on one hand. That has now all changed. But the point, going back to the Punjabi community, is that the Punjabi community has lived in Leicester for a very long time. They have contributed, I feel, heavily to the city. That could be with Seva, or it could be with other parts and other skills and other businesses that they bring to create opportunities for employment, etc. So I think that, you know, 5 Punjabi Lord Mayors of the city tells its own story, which is a wonderful story to say that the Punjabis have contributed massively to this city, but still align themselves to the true values of this beautiful city.
What's your goals for next 12 months as your Lord Mayor?
The goals for being a Lord Mayor, they are quite simple. One is anybody in distress. You know, if the system has failed them, whether it's a council system or anything else out there, I want to be the ear. And if I can help at their point of need at any stage, that's what I want to do. But I want to do that with respect, and I want to do that with humility, and I want to do that with the cooperation of all the other organisations and authorities that work and operate in the city. My door's always going to be open. I'll never turn anybody away. If somebody's going to ring me, ring me. If somebody's going to email me, email me. And I'm not here because, for a bit part of the journey. My journey in Leicester started 50 years ago, and hopefully it's going to continue beyond my term of Lord Mayor. My nature of helping people is going to continue. The only difference now is that I'm able to do it in the role of the Lord Mayor.
How you will engage young people in the community work?
I feel that I'm already doing that, and I want to do more of it. As you get to a certain point in your age, what you've got to look at is who is going to run the legacies that you're leaving behind? Who is going to run the organisations of the future? And how do we pass down the skills and the experience that we have learned, and in many cases that we've learned the hard way? So already there's a group of people that I work with, away from the council, away from the Lord Mayor. There's a group of about 20 people that I help and that I mentor to become the leaders of the future. And that's in GNG, that's a sports setting. And I don't mean coaches. Coaches is a vocational qualification. So those coaches we do help to try and get them into a professional environment. However, I mentor people that want to work in society, that want to do the civil, that want to give back. And we've probably got about 20 hardcore people. They're very, very young. They're very, very determined. But what they've got is the backing of some serious senior people to say, we are going to make decisions from an early age. Some of the decisions they're going to get wrong. Now, there's nothing wrong in getting decisions wrong as long as we identify at a certain time that they were wrong and we could have done it differently. But every wrong decision does not necessarily mean that it was taken wrongly. If you lack certain information, or if you have information which is substandard, sometimes that can lead to a wrong decision. So these are all the sort of things that we are teaching these younger people to say that be bold, make decisions, and we go again. If you make a wrong decision, we'll go again.
What legacy you like to leave as a Lord Mayor of Leicester?
My legacy as Lord Mayor, I think it's, one, giving everybody a fair hearing. So if somebody comes to my door, if somebody rings me, I don't want anybody to say that they weren't listened to. I would want to attend to each person. I'm not guaranteeing that I'll solve everybody's problems. But what I'm saying is at least they will have an ear that will listen. The other thing is that whilst we work in an environment where many people don't know where their next meal is coming from, many people are homeless, yeah, many people don't get the adequate medication that they need, which could be the difference between life and death. I want to help Midland Lunga Seva Society, which is one of the charities that I've chosen, and the hospitals charity, which is the second charity that I'm working with. I want to ensure that I make as much funds available to them as possible this year for them to continue and further their projects, but also to make people aware that these two fantastic charities, in some cases, are as simple as life and death.
What's your message for people of Leicester as a Lord Mayor?
My message to the residents of Leicester is that in me, as Lord Mayor for the year 26-27, you've got somebody that has gone from exactly where you are, the houses, the factories, the schools of Leicester, and I've gone onto the pinnacle of being a senior citizen of the city. So, you know, you guys have chosen me to be the first citizen of the city. That in itself is an honour. Yeah, if I can do it, and I came to Leicester speaking no English, the chances and the opportunities are there for everybody. Okay, to be anything that they want to be, anything that you want to be. You know, you don't necessarily set out to be something, but if the opportunities arise, you have to take them. Don't look back, keep going forward. Every year, every month, every day, every person in the city should be looking to develop themselves and see how they can help others in our society. If we can get that mentality, then I'm sure that the city of Leicester will be an absolutely fantastic and strong city.